Great to see you, Pauline. Now, you live about an hour down the hill, and as we talk about the Bush Summit, I started today by talking about this forum being, wanting to seize opportunities, talk about the challenges for regional Australia. But I've got to say, when we're talking about Toowoomba, there's a lot of positive things to talk about. And we spent a lot of today talking about the massive successes. Do you share my optimism, I should say?
We have. We've got a lot of positives. Australia has been a very country that we've gained so much out of.
Yep.
But it concerns me where we're headed now. It's not the country that I grew up in. And I'm frightened where we're headed. I'm frightened for future generations. What is it for them? Kids now can't even buy their own homes unless they've got help from their parents. Do they have job security? Our industries, manufacturing, farming sector, we're losing all this, and every time we lose it, we lose in expertise. And that's what the problem is. I've travelled this country extensively to rural and regional areas. They're tired, they're worn out. There's no future for a lot of these small communities. And it's all because, I'm telling you, politicians. We're in the hell of a mess because of the decisions that have been made by politicians and bureaucrats that have never had and still don't have a vision for this nation. We don't have that strong leadership. It's all the politicians are doing what they need to do now till the next election to ensure they get their jobs back. So there's no unity that I see from our politicians to make the decisions for the future. We should be unified to do with defence. Why is it one government makes the decision, the next one comes in and changes it, and costs billions of dollars for the taxpayers?
Are you talking about the way the Federation, in your magic, by the way, because you hear that the engines have stopped?
Yes.
Yes, great. Well, thank you for that, Pauline. I appreciate it. So you're talking about the way our Federation is shaped, or are you talking about the hyper-partisanship at a, federal and often state level
In
as
general.
well?
In general.
Okay.
Even state. State, the way the states are, even for the federal as well, the way it's going, Laura. My concern, escalating crime, people can't own their own home, rental accommodation, high immigration, foreign ownership of our housing. All this is impacting our standard of living, way of life in this country. And I continually speak out about it all the time. But it's like falling on deaf ears. I'm saying what a lot of the people out there are saying, and what they all say, I've got the guts to say what you're thinking. But the politicians are not listening. It's like they've lost contact with grassroots Australians, and they're not putting in place what we need to drive this country to prosperity, which we used to have.
I just wrote down something that David Crisafulli, the Premier, said at the start of this summit. He says, we shouldn't fear people coming into our country who sign up for our values. We should fear governments that can't plan for it. Do you agree with him?
Look, this country was built on the migrants that have come here. The convicts that were forced to come here, the migrants have come out here for a new way of life. But it's now to pull back. We're bringing too many people in this country. In the first 2 months of this year, 217,000. In May alone, also another 125,000. They're only bringing high immigration to prop up the GDP because we would be in a recession. You don't use immigrants for that. And you've got to bring in the right people that are going to be compatible with our culture and lifestyle and our laws. Otherwise, you're going to have divisions. And I've spoken about this since 1996.
Yeah.
And you've got to bring in migrants also that will share our values, want to be Australian, and it's a real combination of a lot of things that's happening. But now, pull back, because high immigration means lack of housing, loss of rental accommodation, and the Australians are feeling it.
Well, we heard the Mayor earlier talk about how he's so proud of the diversity here in Toowoomba. Not just diversity of people, but diversity in the economy, diversity of resources, and diversity of people. You're concentrating on a number, but do you acknowledge that places like Toowoomba want these migrant workers in here? Because sometimes there's just not the people to do the jobs.
Laura, you can't bring in more people if we don't have the housing. When I have people that are living in
Who's going to build the houses,
houses,
Pauline?
Who's going to build the houses?
Yeah, so,
well, isn't it about time we got 900,000 of those people sitting on the backsides doing nothing? We're paying them welfare. Why shouldn't those Australians be out there working? Why do we have to rely on migrants coming into the country that should be filling the jobs of the Australians out there? Why do I hear all the time that Australians don't want to work? Why do I hear it? Why do I hear that businesses can't get anyone to apply for a job? So we've got to look at the reasons why.
We are at nearly full employment at just over 4%, so there's something not quite right.
If you believe that, Laura, right. 1 hour's paid employment a week is classified you're not employed. You're not unemployed, that you are unemployed. Or if you're going to college or training or voluntary work, you're not classified as it. But a lot of Australians out there are possibly underemployed, trying to make ends meet. Yes, you do have the Australians, and I take my hat off to them, those ones that have 2 and 3 jobs a week. But when you have Australians that have been on unemployment benefits for 10, 20, 30 years, and yet the government does nothing about it, I have a real problem with that. And we're bringing in migrants into the country, and I'm all for it, and I backed bringing in those ones from overseas, from Vanuatu and the islands, to actually pick the fruit because they couldn't get Australians to do it. Farmers need that support, by all means. But a lot of those people are actually sending that money back out of the country. So you can have all your backpackers, you can have your foreign students, you can have that because we need the work, but that money is leaving the country. So all the foreign students that are here working, they export about $15 billion a year back to their own countries. So we're actually making ourselves poorer by seeing the money leave the country.
Okay, let's talk about net zero because we are running out of time and you are the last session of today. We heard from Matt Canavan in our panel a little early on. You've been in Parliament. How many years now have you been in federal Parliament?
I was first elected in 1996
there you go.
to 1998, and then I came back in 2016.
Right.
So
you've
I've been
seen
around,
this debate.
I've been around the trip. Yes, I have.
You've seen this debate. Are you tired of the partisanship on this? Do you think that, we can give business and Australian people certainty with some kind of, comprehensive energy plan going forward?
Yes, I can. Let's go back to the old ways that we used to have. Okay? The coal-fired power stations, 90% emissions free. Yeah. Let's go after nuclear. Don't go for the 7 nuclear plants. Put one in at the time.
Should they be taxpayer funded though?
You have to. Your energy should be controlled by the governments for the people at a reasonable cost.
But not 7 of them, you're saying?
No, you can't build 7. That was a big dream by the coalition. Start with 1 and deliver the power. You've got to bring people along the journey with you. You've got to also say, how are you going to get rid of the waste? New coal-fired power stations, put one in North Queensland and I put one in South Australia. You cannot run the country on solar and wind. It doesn't happen. They only produce about 30% if you're on a good day, 18 to 30% of your power. That's why we're in dire straits. That's why we've got industries, manufacturing shutting down. You've got people's power bills has tripled in price. You've got small businesses, 30,000 gone under. You've got 1,400 manufacturing gone under since 2023. We are destroying it. I'm the only one that's really stood strong against this net zero in Australia. The coalition were the ones that supported it. I'm forcing them all the time with policy, doesn't matter what it is, that I'm forcing the coalition that are so Labor light and the Progressives in their party.
Well, it's Barnaby and Scott Morrison that signed up to it, right?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
And even John Howard brought it in about carbon when he was in as well.
Do you think it would have been easier just to have a carbon price?
No, I don't want a carbon. You talk about carbon price. You've got all these big companies out there that climbed up to climate activity. Yep. And they thought, oh, well, we'll look after our clients and we're going to be good, good people, good citizens of these companies. Do you know that so many of these ones have now pulled out of it because Telstra, CBus, BHP, they're not doing that carbon emissions anymore. Because their shareholders and the clients are saying, hang on a minute, it's costing us too much money. Yeah. And we've got to get rid of the subsidies to these big companies.
Well, Pauline, just finally on this, do you acknowledge that renewables do play a role? I mean, they've given great opportunity to this region, among many other things, but do you acknowledge that renewables will play a role?
They're a part of the role.
Right.
They cannot be the sole role. And you do not put solar panels on prime agricultural land, just covering it. And these wind turbines, you know, it takes 260 tonnes of coal to build a wind turbine. What it produces is not what it's going to, you know, give, what it's the cost to the environment in carbon emissions. It's all been a scam. It's been a money-making exercise for these people out there. And the unions are directing the governments because the unions are tied up with their superannuation schemes. So this has been a scam, and the people of this country are paying the price for it. We cannot change global emissions at all. We're 1%. We cannot change it. And yet I see the prosperity of our country going down the drain. I see people living in poverty. I see people not being able to pay their bills, put a roof over their head. For what? Let's have the real debate on this. Let's have the science, because a lot of this, and you know what they're saying? Because in 100 years' time we might be 2 degrees warmer. We've always had the change in our climate for centuries, Laura. Don't think that this, they talk about, and it's been here today, oh, well, increase in natural disasters. It's always been increase in natural disasters. Why have they shut down? We can't talk about temperature before 1910. In late 1800s, we had floods and droughts constantly going on in this country. We're being hoodwinked, we're being brainwashed, and they're doing it in the educational system with our kids. As I say to the public out there, go and do your research, understand climate change, and understand the impact it's having on us and our lives and the future generations. If we want this country to move forward, then we need people in there who are going to ask for accountability and drive an agenda that's going to keep us in this country.
Well, thanks for not holding back. You've never believed in climate change, have you?
Climate change is happening, but I don't believe the way that the government is pushing it. And we're at 1%. You'll never change it when China, India and America are putting out 50% of carbon emissions, and they will not be recognised till 2060 for China and 2070 for India. Why are we destroying our country and our economy?
Pauline, thank you.
Thank you.